Hi, I'm Ria.
Hi, I'm Hayley, and together we are
Chronicles of a Spoonie,
sharing stories,
creating connections.
Welcome back, Spoonies. Today is the second part of Ria's podcast from 2 weeks ago, so we're going to end the cliffhanger here and continue with the story. So we're not going to waste any time with an introduction again. Obviously, you've all known Ria from the last podcast, so we're just going to get straight stuck back into the story. And Ria, if you could give us just a reminder of where we finished off last week.
Absolutely. The pain had just really reached its optimum level, and my mother had just screamed for my husband to call for help, to call an ambulance. And it all just broke. Like, first responder turned up and he couldn't get me comfortable. Ambulance turns up, they couldn't get me comfortable. I had air ambulance out, and they gave me an injection and it stopped, and I was like, they got me in the ambulance. By the time they got me in the ambulance, I was screaming again, and they have to get a response now on a phone to give you heavy medication in an ambulance now. Nobody ever called them back. So I screamed all the way to the hospital. My feet were literally under the covers on the top, and I'm flipping myself around because it literally feels like someone's ripping my insides out.
Oh,
it was horrendous. I get in there, I remember being wheeled in, and then I don't remember anything until someone's going, Ria, breathe, Ria, breathe for me, Ria, take a breath. And I'm opening my eyes and I'm like, what happened? They just like, your breathing just went out for a bit. It's fine. It was the medication we gave you. We're just switching that over. And I'm like, I literally grab hold of the woman like this with my hands on her, and I'm like, either kill me or knock me out. Stop torturing me, because that's how it literally felt. She's like, we can't tell you've got your pain under control if you're asleep. So we have to keep you awake. I'm really sorry. So I was screaming and writhing, and then it was all of a sudden stopped, and I don't know why, and I didn't know anything. And they went to move my bed, and it all just started again. I started screaming again, and it was just absolutely awful. It turns out that the needle wasn't in properly, so the medication I was being given was just leaking out, but leaking out so slowly that it was absorbing, so no one could tell that it was leaking. But it turns out what happened was you poked the bear one too many times and it covered my bile duct. And so now every time my body went to create enzymes to break down and to ingest indigestion meds, pain relief, it sent bile down, couldn't come through, so sent it back. And the average human being has an amylase level, which is your pancreas levels, of 75. Mine was 2,800.
Ooh.
So it was really bad. I don't remember the first 6 days, but after that, I remember it all because the treatment was vile. And I was lucky if I got a nice word out of a nurse, and it was awful. I have bruise photos of the bruises to show, but
that is,
yeah.
Like, I want to say that your brain did the right thing in blocking a lot of that out for you, because a lot of that would be very hard to relive.
Yeah,
but at the same time, it's probably also just as daunting not knowing what actually happened truly.
Yeah. Well, I got enough trauma after that. They wanted me out of the hospital really fast, and I was still really ill, and I was like, but I'm still really ill. I can't go anywhere. I can't, like, I'm still on a PCA because the pain's that bad. Like, I don't understand why you want me to leave. So anyway, they finally got me out on day 16, and a couple of weeks later it happened again, and then a couple of weeks later it happened again, and a week again, and for every time I ended up in there, the treatment got worse. So first of all, they would send an ambulance, then they wouldn't. When I get into the hospital, A&E, they would put me straight in and put me on pain relief, then they wouldn't. They even took the bed off me, saying, we're giving it to someone that actually needs it. And I was like, what? Like, I couldn't understand what I'd done so bad. And then they were refusing me my own pain relief. Because you're not allowed to take your own pain relief whilst you're in A&E. So I'm like, you need to prescribe it to me then. No, we think you've had enough. That's my medication that I regularly take when I'm in agony. Like, you need to give that to me. But they wouldn't do it. They refused me my meds. And then a doctor came down and was like, what is it you actually want me to do for you? Stop the pain. And he literally sighed at me, and I couldn't fathom it. And then one of the things that happens with pancreatic attacks, you lose control of the lower half.
Mm-hmm.
I'd soiled myself, and I was asking for help. He's like, "You can see the toilet is." It's like, I'm covered in, like, you want me to walk, like, what? So then I put my head out going, I've got no towels or nothing like that. And he went, oh, just something in your bag, go and get them. And I couldn't fathom like what I had done so awful to these people. But it turns out, because I ended up buying all my notes because I really didn't want to have a 20% survival rate surgery. I wanted to survive. I wanted to be given 100%. I was going to be okay. So I bought all my medical records. And it turns out that they thought I was an alcoholic. But they never asked me if I drank alcohol.
They just came to that assumption themselves.
Well, I had non-alcoholic fatty liver disease.
Yeah.
And what that comes from is around 2015, I became really unwell with fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome.
Okay.
My mobility just flawed. Like doing anything, moving anywhere just became really painful in my hips and my joints. And so I gained 7 stone in 5 months. And because of that fast upshot of weight, the liver gets fatty. Hence the non-alcohol related part of it.
Right.
But they saw fatty liver disease from a scan, didn't ask me about it, pancreatitis, and went, she's an alcoholic. She's doing it to herself. So they left me starving to death. They did give me a feeding tube, it got blocked, they removed it, didn't replace it. Because they didn't replace it, in my belief, is because the guy doing the tube hated alcoholics, obviously, because he was atrocious to me. I was set to go under sleep sedation. He refused it to me, and I didn't know why. He went, I'm not giving you that. And first time I came out, I had no tube at all, and he wouldn't tell me why. They gave me some sedation. The second time I came out, I had a tube. I went home. I came back 3 days later screaming in pain, and it was supposed to be in my intestines, but was this long. That's all that was in me. 11 inches was in me. That's it. It literally didn't even reach the bottom of here. So then finally got the last one by a doctor. No, I then got admitted to hospital, obviously, because I couldn't have food. They gave me a medication to help me have food, and I told them I was on a specialist diet, and they went, well, we don't think you should be, and so we're not gonna help you with that. Like, they were atrocious to me. And so then the doctor came and said that I had to go and get the scope done. I said, sure, under anesthetic though. And he was like, well, I can't book that for 9 weeks. And I was like, well, then I'll wait 9 weeks. He went, well, then you'll starve for 9 weeks. Do you want that? And I was like, well, of course I don't want that, but if that's the only option to get this line in. Anyway, another doctor heard my story, came up and helped me, took me to theatre first in the morning so that doctor couldn't see me, got it in. He turns up on my bed, reading my notes, looks up to me, sees this feeding tube in my face, and went, where the hell did you get that? So I got taken down to theatre this morning. I thought you booked it. Why would I do that? And I was no longer under his service. I don't know why, but I got sent home. Anyway, the feeding tube blocked, and they had to take it out, and nobody would put another one back in. And I obviously couldn't fathom out why. But I couldn't eat, because if I ate, I would scream in pain.
You get that attack again.
So I went from 14 to 15 stone down to 8 stone 9 in 5 months.
In 5 months.
So yeah, bought my notes, found out they thought I was an alcoholic. And I'm sorry that even if I was, which I'm not, never have been.
Yeah.
That's how you treat them.
But even if it was, alcoholism itself is a disease. It's an illness.
Yeah.
It's an addiction like so many others. And to treat somebody differently based on that fact, I know people have opinions on people who don't even try and don't even want to help themselves and things like that. It's something entirely different. But to treat, for doctors who are meant to be impartial, who are supposed to treat everybody equally, everybody in this country and with the NHS, everybody has a freedom to be treated as and when they require it.
Yep.
For somebody, first of all, to make an assumption about you without asking you, and to second of all, treat you differently because of that assumption is shocking.
Yeah. They really wanted me out of the hospital every time I was in there. Like they'd stand by the bed and go, "Why won't you go home?" I was like, "Because I'm in agony." "Well, what do you want us to do about it?" And I literally just couldn't fathom it. But it turns out that the reason they thought I was an alcoholic is a psychiatrist had written on my paperwork alcohol misuse because I had a drink with my dinner every day. Which 90% of the UK do. It's what people do. Dinner, drink. And it wasn't like I was having a glass of wine or a whiskey. I was having a Foster's.
Yeah.
What we call, I don't know if I think I can say that, but it's basically like next to water. It's not strong. It's just, I enjoyed the flavor. It was great with a steak.
Yeah, of course.
So, but the second I had the first pancreatic attack, I didn't even ever have one ever again.
Mm-hmm.
Never passed my lips. But because I'd had one with my dinner, and I know he had whiskey, like for sure he had whiskey every night and wine.
One passing comment.
Yep. It's funny because my mum had warned me not to say anything. She said, when they ask you about alcohol, just say you don't. She said, because even with your one, they will write you down as an alcoholic. I said, no, don't be so stupid. And I'm honest.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie to you, because how can you give me the best help possible if I lie to you? And even though it's one drink, it's one drink. But from that, another psychiatrist wrote I had drunk 24 cans of beer a day. I physically couldn't. Couldn't.
Who could?
My doctor called me in and said, like, do we need to have a conversation? I was like, why? She said, about your alcoholism. I was like, Mama, what now? This was a couple of years prior, but I never knew about his one because I got hers revoked. And he retired before I can get his revoked. So it's stuck on there. But it's now put in historical. So every time I go into hospital now, I go, just so you know, that isn't true. I'm fighting at the minute to get it removed.
Yeah.
Because it's not true. But so the doctor calls me in because she wants to try and help me with my alcoholism. And I'm like, I don't understand what you're talking about. She's like, 24 cans a day, Rhea? How? When did you get there? I was like, what? She said, that's what she's written. So there is a report on me somewhere in the mental health system that says I'm an alcoholic and I drink 24 cans of beer a day.
Oh my goodness. I have no words.
Oh, trust me, I had plenty. But that's where they got it from. And instead of coming up to me and going, hey, we understand you got alcoholism, pancreatitis is the worst thing you could do. And I could have then gone, what? Wait, what?
It could have been ironed out so much earlier.
Yeah. So basically I starved to death. I was literally starving to death. So that started on the 13th of July 2017. By January 2018, the feeding tube was gone. They ceased all care. The only care they gave me was pain relief. So I was like, I basically ate boiled white fish, pureed veg. That's it, every day. Boiled white fish, pureed veg, every day. And barely any of it because I was too scared to do it. Because I was too scared to have an attack and go into hospital. So I'm having all these meetings for my surgery, and he's saying, look, you're so weak and ill, we need to get you in and put you on TPN first, which is what I was doing. So we're going to do that for 2 weeks before your surgery. I was like, fine, okay, no worries. Nothing then happened until the day before my surgery, and I'm sat there going, I've got surgery tomorrow and nothing's been done. What the? Oh no, this was the Friday before. I lie. It was the Friday. My surgery was on the Wednesday. The Thursday. Sorry, my surgery was on Thursday the 11th. The Friday before was the last meeting. So we went down there. My doctor wasn't even there. It was just a pre-assessment for like blood tests and stuff like that. And we wouldn't leave. We refused to leave until we saw someone, because I'm meant to be on TPN for 2 weeks. Scott's dad had just died. It was wild. And he said, yeah, we decided we just weren't going to do it. We're just going to go ahead with the surgery. So you're not putting your patient in the best possible way she can be, like nourished and stuff. So anyway, I get admitted on the Wednesday. and I meet the anaesthesiologist straight away and all this sort of stuff. And the anaesthesiologist keep coming back to me, keep asking me questions, and I'm getting a bit confused now, because normally you speak to them, you say goodbye, you see them the next time, you know, but they didn't stop coming back. So on the morning of the surgery, the doctor swings back the curtain and says, "Are we doing this or are we not?" And I'll say, "What?" He said, "Well, are we doing it or are we not?" I said, don't understand. He said, "Well, the anaesthesiologist are refusing to take you down to theatre on the basis you won't make it off the table." And I said to them, "Without it, you won't see 2019, or you'll be lucky to see 2019. So what do you want to do? Do you want to spend your last weeks with your family? Or do you want to try?" And I was like, "Well, I'm not a quitter."
Mm-hmm.
So we went down to theatre, I said goodbye to my family, thinking that was it. I made it through. And after all the trauma that happened, and I got to go home, I kept coming back for my appointments, and I was saying, like, we had a drain that was stuck, it just wouldn't let go.
Okay.
And I couldn't let go because it wasn't getting the proteins it needed to break down the stitches to do it. So I was telling him, "Look, every time I eat, my skin feels like it's on fire. I go down like a sack of potatoes with this severe nausea that I've never felt in my entire life, I can't describe." I said, "My stomach's bouncing around. Like, it doesn't seem normal." I said, "And then I pass out." I said, "Something's really not right." And he's like, "Yeah, we're all going to CT scans and all that lot." But he doesn't. He discharges me and sends a note saying Ria's doing really well, eating great, putting on weight, is really happy. So I get back with my old dietitian, and we're trying to fathom something we can do, because I'm just dropping weight. And I'm about to go under the 6 stone mark, and she's literally going to all the doctors in the hospital, local hospital, like, "Please help her, please help her." Nope, nope, no thanks, not touching her. Too complicated was their answer, but we all know what the answer was. So she starts writing to my other specialist, which has nothing to do with like pancreas and stuff like that. And they finally reply, because she hasn't stopped emailing them every week. And she says the reason we didn't reply because we just figured by that point, like, the local hospital would have picked you up. Like, why aren't they helping you? I think I'm an alcoholic, probably. So she says, she goes and has a meeting. She comes back and says they're going to bring me into an intestinal failure unit. It would take up to 6 weeks minimum to get me in. Like, it's a long wait. And I'll be in there up to 18 weeks. So in the 6 weeks that I've got to wait, get yourself ready, get yourself some things to do whilst you're in here, you know, get everything you need. There's everything there, like there's a washing facility for your clothes and stuff like that. She said, "All I'm going to need is your latest test results." So, well, that's cool. I said, "I had them done this week, so I haven't had the results myself yet." But so that was on a Friday, late Friday. Around, I think, 11, 12 o'clock on the Monday morning, I get a phone call saying, "Can you get here within 2 hours?"
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I was like, "Where's the 6 weeks?" And it turns out they got my test results and went, "Oh, she ain't going to make it 6 weeks."
Can I just say, thank God your dietitian took you seriously.
Oh, I thanked her. I cried to her for saving my life.
Because she did quite literally save your life.
She did. 100%, she saved my life. And I literally cried on the phone and said to her that if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be here today. Quite literally, I wouldn't be here today. And I asked her how I could ever thank her. She said, "It's my job."
No, she went above and beyond, because there were people that didn't do their job. She went above and beyond.
Anyway, so they got me in, and they do a ton of test results for TPN. You can't just go straight onto TPN. I had every scan there is. I had every blood test there was. Tons of poop tests. They seem to like my poop. Urine tests every day, like everything. And first of all, I had a PICC line put in. So it's exactly the same as a central line, but it just goes in from the arm. So PICC lines are for months, Hickman's are permanent.
Okay.
So at the beginning, I think they thought they were going to find something and there would be an answer and I would be able to go back to eating and all that sort of stuff. But within about 6 days, I think it was 5-6 days, they realized that that was not a possibility and booked me in for a Hickman line. And I was in there for 6 days before I got my TPN. And I got my first dose of TPN, and it's all of a sudden my body just like went, whoop. Hello?
Did you woke up again, essentially?
Yeah, I've been sleeping all the time. I had no life. I basically spent my life sleeping because I would eat. My body would kick off. It would shut down for 2 to 8 hours. I would wake back up, eat. That's all I did. So I remember her saying like, what would you like before this? And I said I was a size 18 to 20. And that was only because I was ill, because prior to that I was always small. And she was like, oh, we can get you back there. And Scott went, oh, no thanks. No thanks. Let's just get a healthy size, please. No thanks. And she just looked at him like, you're really saying that in front of your wife? So yeah, got put on TPN. They adjusted it and that lot. But I'm somebody, like I told you, I need to know everything.
Yeah.
So I started asking the questions. And so TPN is literally, it's a fluid that's made specifically for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like a PEG or an NJ or an NG or anything like that, where you get like almost a generic feed that you connect, and it's anyone can be used kind of thing. So like you can go into hospital and they just get one out of the cupboard and you connect that. This is specifically made by prescription, specifically for you. Like if I don't need mine, I can't give it to Joe Blogs because it's a different prescription. And so we have a line, mine's a Hickman, and you can see the covering right here. So my line is actually in here. Cleverly done, isn't it? So mine's a Hickman line. So this goes up to my neck there, you can see it there. And it goes down into the central line, straight to the heart.
Yeah. So for those who are listening and aren't able to see this, it does go up over like her clavicle, over her collarbone, and down in behind, down into the heart. Yep. Isn't that right? Yeah.
Yeah. So the end is just above the heart.
Okay.
So you think about the valve opening to the heart, pumping, the line is just above it. So every drip of feed that drips out, it drips directly into the heart, and the heart out of it, back out of it, straight around the body. So the whole of your body is instantly being nourished. And so you imagine your body being unnourished since July 2017. This is now July 2019, and it's been 2 years, and it's getting that hit of absolutely everything it needs: the proteins, the carbohydrates, the minerals, the vitamins, the micronutrients, everything, the calories, the fats, literally everything to the T of what my body needs is getting in that moment. And it's kind of gone, whoa.
And it must have taken a while, and I know it still is ongoing for you, to actually nail down what exactly you did need. It must have been a lot of trial and error.
It is. So you're meant to stay in there up to 18 weeks so they can get it right and also get you set up at home. We got my feed nailed quite fast. I believe, if I am correct in remembering, it's 5 days.
Wow.
So you start off you get a generic bag that's got a mediocre of everything, and that gets run for 22 hours.
So it's really all day.
Yeah,
you're hooked
pretty
up
pretty much, yeah. So they would just take that one down and get the next one out, and might as well just connect it back up, kind of thing. You didn't really get a break. So then you start taking bloods to see how your body's reacting, and if it's enough, what your body's really lacking in, and they adjust the feed a bit, and then they bring it down to 18 hours a day. And that goes on. I think they got the feed right within 5 days, and then it was just the timings, bring them down slowly to 12 hours a day, which is the fastest you can run it. So basically you've got this bag, the specific nutrition, specifically for your body, specifically what your body needs. And then there is lowering the speed of which it's coming. So the fastest you can have it is 12 hours. And the slowest you can have it is 24 hours directly from the fridge. So the second you take your feed out of the fridge, where it's got to be stored between 2 to 8 degrees, the second you take it out of that fridge, you've got 24 hours to get that up, down, and done.
Mm-hmm.
So you can either connect it straight away and run it for 24 hours,
Mm-hmm.
or you can connect it straight away and take it down within 12 hours. Or you can, what I do is leave it to warm up for 3 to 4 hours. I then run it for 14 to 14 and a half hours, depending which one I have, the one with fats or the one without fats. And then I have about 8 hours break.
Why is it that you choose to lift yours out of the fridge to warm up for a few hours first?
In the summer, I won't. In the summer, I'll connect it straight away because it's like internal aircon. It's perfect. It's brilliant. But for myself, it makes me feel bloated and swollen, and I become a bit swollen in the abdomen. It's quite a common thing to happen for people when it comes direct from the fridge to bloat in the stomach area. And it's not painful or anything like that. It's not nice. It's just uncomfortable. So preference for me is a 3 to 4 hour warm up first, and then connect it. But in the summer, I forego the stomach. I don't care about that you're sweating. You want to be cold, and having internal aircon is fantastic. So
I suppose as well in the summer, whenever it is hot, it takes that much less time to warm up anyway, that you don't want to risk it being out for too long and getting too warm either.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't take my feed out until nighttime anyway, so it's already a lot cooler in the air. And I will never ever have a day feed in summer because of the heat and the bag. Like, you don't want that bag getting too hot for sure. And also I don't want direct sunlight on my bag. Although my bag has a special bag over the top to protect it from the light, that I still have a bit of a anxiety about it, because if light gets to your feed, it breaks the molecules down, which makes it unusable, and would be unhealthy to obviously go in. So I do nighttime, which is recommended anyway, because then you're asleep for most of the time, so you're not carrying that bag around all day. Because trust me, having TPN, although it's it is literally the only thing keeping me alive, and it is the thing that saved my life, it still is mentally a lot. Every time you connect it, you can get an infection, or a deadly infection. It's like sepsis, or a septic shower, which is even worse. So I call mine Russian roulette, because you just don't know which time it's going to kick off.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what I was about to ask you, because obviously it is, at the end of the day, it's an open line directly into your heart.
Mm-hmm.
So I know for a while, obviously, when you were in hospital and they were getting things adjusted, you would have had nurses and things, that were administering it for you. I know now at home, and obviously because this is how I know you, I know that you do it yourself, and you have a technique and a procedure that you follow, a protocol that you follow every single night for connecting your feed. At what point did it transfer from the nurses doing it to you doing that?
The second I got home.
Which was how long after starting TPN?
I'd been in hospital for 4 weeks. I came home September the 9th. And the first night, the nurse connected it for me, because I was just so tired. But the next morning, I started training, and nobody ever touched my line again except for me.
I just find it incredible.
This is where I took over, because I cope better when I do something, because then I know it's done, than when someone else does it. It took 5 weeks to really get the hang of it, to stop chucking pieces on the floor.
You still do that sometimes.
I still do that sometimes, absolutely. You can't help it. It kind of bounces on the table, and it hits it, or it just slides straight off the paper, lands on its side, and then drops. I call it feeding the floor. I say the floor wants to be sterile too. But back then, I'm sorry, I'm hiccuping, you probably hear it. Back then, it would happen a heck of a lot more. And learning to open all the packets the right way, so you didn't touch the item inside, and it didn't touch you, and it didn't touch the outside of the packaging. It was a lot. But from week 5, I could do it myself. They were happy to sign me off, but I suffer with disassociation. So when I get stressed or overwhelmed, I shut out, and then I don't remember anything again for hours, and I don't know if it's done correctly, or was it not, and it became a thing. But by having somebody with me all the time, it just seemed to work a lot better. So I kept nurses all the way up till March 2020, when the pandemic hit, and I went solo. And I really struggled with that. Like I really struggled with it. And then in July 13th, 2020, I had a miscarriage and I wasn't coping. And I actually just hit 1,000 followers. And I'd been trying so hard. I didn't even know there was a thing like follow for follow on TikTok back in those days. So I tried really hard and done it really slowly. And I'd been on there since December 2019. And so Scott was like, look, tonight, why don't you go live and just educate people, like keep your mind occupied and let them keep you occupied. And I'm like, no one's going to want to know and I can't do it. But I did. He helped me get set up and he's like, you got this, baby, you know, I'm right here. 2 people, one was Scott and one never spoke. And I was like, it was heartbreaking. Like I had a shit day already, obviously. And nobody turned up for live. Nobody, you know, no one wants to see this. I told you I'm not interesting. And I just cried again for the rest of the night. And the next day I was crying again. Like such heartbreak for miscarriage. Like it's such something that definitely needs more awareness about it. But the next day Scott like set it up again. It's like, no, come on, one more time. Just try it one more time. And 92 people turned up. And I started making these friends. And we became a team. Like I got moderators and this live was fantastic. And I didn't need nurses no more. I got everything I needed from my lives. I was not only educating and raising awareness about the conditions that I had for so long and felt so trapped with and so alone with, but I had this new thing called TPN and I was alone with it. Like the phone calls from the hospital stopped. No more nurses. I was connecting this thing to my heart every day through this line here, where you have to do an aseptic procedure, and you had to have sterile items. And what if I messed it up? I could die. And like that's all real.
Yeah.
You know, if you muck up, you can die. But I got from my lives what I got from my nurses. Because I was talking the whole time and concentrating on them the whole time, I was able to do this. I can't do one thing without doing something else. As you can see, I probably move my hands a lot and touch my hands a lot. And it's just because I can't think straight if I'm just talking, if I'm just doing that one thing. So if I'm just doing my TPN, I forget steps. I mess it up. But if I put a movie on and watch the movie, I can do my TPN.
Like muscle memory.
Yeah, muscle memory kicks in. But doing the live, not only was my muscle memory kicking in, but I'm now educating the world on FAP, Desmoid Tumours, chronic pancreatitis, acute pancreatitis. Do you know what I mean? Like I was doing something I've always wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I made some amazing friends from that. I met you too, you know, you weren't so bad.
Yeah, I was just about 6 months too late. Well, not quite. No, I think I started watching your lives in late December. It was just after Christmas, I think I started watching you. So
literally just after Christmas. I remember, like as I said to you, I remember you in January. You came in December. I remember you in January.
Yeah.
And then the friend talking and the lies started happening, and then you started getting prepared for your journey, and we just really clicked.
We did.
And now we're taking over the world with Pinky and brain. Nice personal joke for him, isn't it? But yeah.
I'm the brain, just in case anyone wants.
I don't think anyone's going to question that, to be honest.
I don't know, after some of the terms and things that you've come out with today and how much knowledge you have on stuff, I think you're just as much of a brain.
But that's from because I have to now. You know,
I know.
I'm at the steps now where I'm going to need to start needing to know stuff and fight for myself, because at some point TPN's not going to work for me anymore, and so I need to figure out what's next other than the organ transplant. What's next?
And is that a possibility for you again? Is that something that's ever been considered since that point, or?
It's been spoken about already. He did take it to the MDT meeting. I haven't had a conversation with him since then, but he did say that whilst my TPN, my liver was acting okay with my TPN, my body was being okay with it, then they try to keep you where you are because, first of all, multiple organ isn't really considered until you're a lot closer to death, which for me blows my mind, because isn't it better to do it whilst you're healthier? Like, haven't you got a better survival rate when you're healthier? But then I see it from their point of view of the risks of not making it is so high that they want you to have a life just in case.
And I guess the shortages as well with organs that are actually available too, you know, and there's obviously people out there who are on that verge of they literally have zero other option right now, which is an awful scenario to have to make that judgment of who should or who shouldn't.
Oh, absolutely. I'd hate to be that doctor. Yeah.
But I'm 100% with you, because in an ideal world, it should be as soon as that becomes a viable option for you and you're at your strongest point to be able to get yourself through that. Why is that not the time to do it, to give you the best quality of life and the longest amount of time possible after it? Right. Living the life that you need to live.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'd hate to be the people that decide who gets what, where, and when, and who's more important in the grand scheme of things. Like, I'd hate to be them. I'm also, as you well know, I'm a really patient person, and I understand people's jobs. I understand that, you know, they don't make the decisions just because they want to. Like, they don't like that person better than that other person. They get given a job and they get criterias, and there's nothing more they can do with that.
Yeah. And
I understand from some doctors' reactions, when I react and I go, okay, I get it. They don't always get that reaction. I understand that. And they always say to me, you're so patient and so calm. And it's like, well, if I was nasty towards you and shouted, would it get me further? Because I will do that. If that's going to get me further down the line where I want to be, then I will do that. And they're like, it doesn't change a thing.
Yeah.
What's the point? And I know my mom sits there sometimes going, oh, but like, Ria, sometimes you really need to. And it's like, but it's not going to get us anywhere. And I'd rather be on their good side. So when they go, right, we need to pick a patient for this, and it's just based on who we like, obviously, that, you know.
Exactly. And it's all it does is it builds anxiety as well as tears down somebody else at the same time. It doesn't get anybody anywhere other than makes everybody feel rubbish. So
exactly. Do you know what? One thing that I always sticks in my head, and from my whole journey, is when I had my actual ripples in 2018, a nurse turned around to me and she said, even when you were screaming in pain and your epidural failed and like you were hollering the place down and we didn't know what the outcome was going to be, we couldn't help you. Like, every time we tried something and it didn't stop your pain, you still continued screaming. You thanked us. I feel like we were trying, and that, like, you're like, I know, and you'd hold my hand, she said, and you say, thank you for trying. Please don't stop trying, but thank you for trying. She said, you just continue to have manners the whole way through. And it made us obviously be more passionate with it. Obviously they tried just as hard as they would with anyone else, but she said, you just made us feel, because no matter what was happening with you, and no matter how much you were suffering, you still remember to say thank you.
You still appreciated it.
And I always say something, I was brought up properly. And my mom said to them, Ria's always been a big thanker. Like, she never says it enough. And as you know, I'm one of those people that cannot say thank you enough. Like, I will keep saying it, and you're like, oh my God, stop now. And it's like, no, I can't, because I never feel like I say thank you enough. And it is, I was speaking on my live this morning, and someone was saying about being thank you for something. And I said, honey, a month after being given a gift, I'm still thanking the people, because I still can't believe they gave me that gift and don't think I've said thank you enough. And all my, you know, it's just a thing we do.
It is.
That's my quirk. I got a few of them, but that's my main one.
So kind of going back to the actual ripple surgery, and obviously we know what was done and everything like that. Did it do its job? Did it actually have an effect, improve your conditions, eliminate any of your conditions, or on the flip side, did it make any of them worse? Or, did you find any increase in symptoms of anything?
So going into it, I was only diagnosed with acute pancreatitis coming out. I was diagnosed with chronic on acute. Although I just say I never know if it's gotten better or if the pain relief that they've just got it right now. But obviously I came out with less eating ability. We also came out with a condition that it just was the weirdest name I think I've ever heard for a condition. It's called dumping syndrome.
Okay.
And in my head, dumping is going to the toilet. So I was like, do I go too much? Is it the way I go to the toilet? Like it wasn't really explained to me. Not until I ended up on TPN.
Okay.
So I got diagnosed with it. I went in from a TPN. It got diagnosed with it, and it was said so blasé, oh, and you got dumping syndrome, and I'm like, and I remember sitting with Scott going, I got some sort of poop condition, but that's nothing new, and didn't even think to look into it or to ask about it right until I think towards the end, and they gave me a explanation that didn't even sink in, so I couldn't tell you what it was they said. But I came home and never thought about it again because I thought I never seen it on my just discharge papers. And I remember speaking to my specialist I think a couple of months ago, was it July, something like that, and she said something, and she went, oh, I'm with you having dumping syndrome and all, and I went, I'm sorry. I said, because I spoke to the other people when I don't have dumping syndrome. She's like, nope, it's right here. Then they've diagnosed you with dumping syndrome. So obviously it came off the call and I started researching it like I do. Hello, Google. And found out what it is in a normal human body's organ layout. You have your stomach. You have this valve, and I can never remember the name of it, but it's a valve that connects to duodenum. So what happens is you eat food, it breaks it down, and this is just opening and shutting like this, and food will come through and it'll close again, so only little bits of food can come through at any one time. So it's like a smooth running machine. Stomach, duodenum, large intestine, small intestine. I think it's the other way around, actually, small intestine, large intestine. But, it's a smooth running machine. Fantastic. Great. I have no large intestine, no no duodenum, no valve. So I have the top part of my stomach because they took the bottom half, and I have my intestine.
You don't even have the valve?
Nope.
It just all goes...
Literally that. So picture your stomach being a dump truck. And you eat and it fills the dump truck up, and then the dump truck empties. One hit straight into the intestines. The intestines go, what was that? Oh my god, what's all this stuff? What am I going to do with it? Just think about, you spent all day tidying your cupboards and fridge, and someone comes and dumps it on the floor. Like, where do you start? It's overwhelming, it's too much. And that's literally what it is for my intestines, and that's why they go into shock and bounce about, because they're not getting little bits, they're getting the whole lot. And so it's called dumping syndrome because there's a dump truck part of it. So there is actually a diet for dumping syndrome.
Okay.
And it literally is what can fit in the palm of your hand is a meal. So if you're going to have meat, you can have a piece of meat that's the size of a playing card.
Okay.
And then a quarter cup is your veg and your potatoes. And that's it.
So small.
It's very small. That means if you dump a truck it, it's not going to do any damage.
So is it a case of small and often?
Yeah. So my brain literally went, so I could make lasagna.
Garfield.
Literally the first thought I went with, I could make lasagna and I could have a forkful. I don't mind cold lasagna, like as long as it's cut up first, because trying to get through cold pasta is just not the one. But that's literally the first thought I had. So I actually was speaking to a dietitian only a few weeks ago, and you know about this.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to her, I feel like I'm being tortured all the time now, because recently, for the last few months, I'm hungry. I'm actually hungry all the time. My stomach gurgles. It like does that dropping noise when it's so hungry. It's like, oh. And I said, I literally feel like I'm being tortured, because no matter if I run my TPN for longer or short or anything, it's still happening. And so we did discuss, maybe your body's had a rest now and might be able to do it. So based around the dumping syndrome is a spoonful a day.
And is there any limitations on what you can eat with it? Is it a very restricted diet? Or, yeah.
It is. So to start with anyway, I have to eat soft food. So she said jellies. I'm a lactose intolerant, so and lactose actually kicks the dumping syndrome off anyway. So you're not meant to have lactose with.
Well, could that be what your lactose intolerance is?
What do you mean? Oh, the dumping syndrome.
Yeah, could it actually be that you're not lactose intolerant? It's just that the lactose doesn't agree with you because of the dumping syndrome?
I've been lactose intolerant since I was 16 years old.
Okay.
Got my
body. I just like had a brain.
I know, I had an epiphany.
I'm just curious.
But I had it when I was younger. I ended up in hospital screaming in pain, and then all of a sudden it got better, and then with the surgery it kicked back in again. But it's because the body's weak, so it obviously found a way to deal with it, and now it can't. But also I have no gallbladder now, and gallbladder deals with things like fats and stuff like that. So like I was talking about lasagna, I wouldn't be able to have cheese in it, because the gallbladder would be what dealt with the cheese. But when she said to start with soft foods. So I've got soya yogurts, jellies. Scott actually found Bakewell tart jelly.
It's lovely. I've had it.
Oh, I'm so excited. I know there's a lemon meringue one out there, but there was none available. So I'm just excited about that one. But I think the whole flavor thing is going to be a bit of a shock for my system. I think it's going to be like, whoa.
I've never had this. Well, I haven't had this in years.
Yeah. So, and he's also got passion fruit and mango, and they're my two favorite flavors for like fruit. If you ever wonder, oh, will we like that? Is it passion fruit or mango? It's a hit. It doesn't really matter. Even like wax melts and stuff like that. Love it. But taken. But when you get to being able to actually eat food, it's more about foods that can be broken down, like red meat. Do you know how long it takes red meat to break down in your body and actually pass through?
I do not, because I don't eat it.
Well, that's a good thing then, because it takes years.
Wow.
Red meat actually leaves a coating inside of you that takes years for your body to break down.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Like, I don't understand why people, I understand why people eat it, because it's delicious, but people don't get educated on food and don't really care because they're doing fine on it. But red meat, like if you look at diets that like people give out, like people who are exercise coaches and stuff like that, look at the diet and see that there's no red meat, because it takes forever to break down. So we have restrictions to like white meat, try not to eat pork, so mainly chicken and turkey and stuff like that, which Christmas is coming. But the rest of it is size proportionate, really. You can pretty much eat what you want. Sugary stuff, sweet stuff like that affects dumping syndrome.
Okay.
But she did say if it's in a small portion, it should be okay. But I remember I used to have these little chocolates for my sugar levels. I used to have one and it would kick everything off. So I don't know quite where that sugary thing sits, because for me that was
Well, it could also be with the chocolate, maybe it was the cocoa side of it that was just too rich and too heavy. It could be, might not have been the sugar side of it, it was maybe just the richness of it.
Do you know what? You could have a thought there, because Maltesers used to make everything 10 times worse, whereas a Milky Way wouldn't make it as bad. So it's all interesting. So we have decided that at some point I'm going to try it. Like I could have tried it by now, but I'm so petrified of the side effects that happen that I haven't done it yet. So yes, some things have improved. I'd say the pain improved, but is that just because we got the pain relief correct? I don't know. Gained some dumping syndrome, gained low platelets. So when I actually went in for my Hickman line, my platelets were so low that they wouldn't take me to theatre because they were below 100. So I had to have a platelet infusion before I went to theatre.
Oh my God.
And after that, no one mentioned it. So I actually mentioned it to my GP, and she was like, well, let's test them. And they're still low. So she's actually spoken to a specialist about that now. And they've said if it goes down one more point, then they're going to take me in to see me. Because I don't know if you know about low platelets. The problem with low platelets, they cause bleeding randomly. So now I get random nosebleeds. I've never had that before in my life. I get gum bleeds. Never had that. That's part of gum disease, which runs in my family, but I've never really had like this.
Yeah.
But she was telling me how you can just have internal bleedings. So you have to watch yourself. You have to keep note of your body, and if you get an extreme pain that you've never had before, like get to the doctor or hospital and just get it checked out, kind of thing. Like low platelets aren't to be sniffed at. But then we had Adam on, who you guys won't have heard it yet because it's going to be after us. But we interviewed a young gentleman called Adam last weekend, and he has low platelets too, but they're like way lower than mine, and they still don't do anything about it. Like it just blows my mind. It really does, for how dangerous it is. Like it blows my mind. But no, I would say on a whole, nothing got better and everything got worse. But I was so angry for such a long time that he elected to do the surgery and didn't let me get the multiple organ. But like my doctor said to me, he saved your life. If you didn't have it when you had it, you would have gotten pancreatic cancer. Like it turned into, by the time they took the growth out, I don't know if I said this bit, that by the time they took the growth out, it was a tumor. And so they tested all of the organs around it. They took cells from them to test to see if it spread. It's the bit I always forget. And when I remember, if that had been there for any longer, I wouldn't be here. It had turned.
Yeah, because even at that point, it could have been too late for the multi-organ transplant.
Yeah. And if it was a tumor, by the time they took it out, if that had stayed in, it would have hit the pancreas first, and survival of pancreatic cancer is the lowest form. So I wouldn't have been here. And then, think about being on the waiting list for a transplant, like you said. He said he saved your life, even though you are with low quality, and obviously I'm lucky to be here, and the only thing keeping me alive is TPN. I'm alive.
I guess the one positive, and it's easy to say this as an outside perspective and not living what you live with day in, day out, but your pain is more managed now. Don't get me wrong, I know I've experienced the days where you are in excruciating pain. I've seen it firsthand, and it is not fun to see. Never mind, I can't imagine what it feels like to be in that pain, but it sounds as though, if nothing else, there is a maintenance there of your symptoms that, and although you can't eat, the TPN is maintaining you. Whereas prior to that, it was just you were dropping and dropping weight. And at least now, I mean, to me, you look healthy. You're a healthy weight. You look well, and you look healthy. And I know it's a very different story. It's easy to say that, and this is the thing with chronic illness. If I can see that line, I wouldn't know.
I know, as if I tuck that back in.
Tuck that in and it's covered, you wouldn't know. You just look healthy. So I don't know, I could be completely off here in saying this, but to me, it does seem that in a way there were some positives come from it. In that, one, by getting on the TPN, you look what you've grown with the community, with meeting people, with educating. and so many opportunities have come from that. And two, it's helped you maintain yourself as you are and stay a healthy weight and just be able to do the things day to day that you maybe couldn't have done beforehand.
Oh, absolutely. And I say to you all the time, I'm so proud of what I've achieved, especially this past, 15 months, is it? Like, the lives, the people that keep coming back. I had a live yesterday, and I know that at least 7,000 people who came through my live that day were my followers. Like, what?
It's incredible.
And then you got my Facebook group. The people are joining even more, and the numbers and the lives are growing, and then the ones that sign up to come onto the Zoom calls with me, and it blows my mind. Like, why do you want to come on a Zoom call with me and have a one-on-one? Like, I'm just me. But they get excited about it, and I get excited about it because I get to meet them. Yeah. So they're excited to meet me. I'm excited to meet them, and I hear their story. Like, as you know, this podcast, listening to the stories and learning about them and being educated for both of us is just this, this amazing thing. And if I didn't have that surgery, and if I didn't have the TPN, this wouldn't have all began.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be where I am. I wouldn't have met you. I wouldn't have met the others that I'm friends with now. And there has been positives come out of it. I can't lie. I try to remember them above and all the others. So days I can, obviously, which I've started to talk about, which I do very much struggle talking about my mental health, as you well know. But I spoke about it the other day and really started showing that I'm not always okay. And I do struggle with day to day. I struggle sometimes with getting dressed. I struggle sometimes even just brushing my teeth. But then I save my energy to go on live. And I don't know. I'm here. I'm watching my tortoise make a noise now. I'm here, I'm educating, I'm doing everything I wanted to do. I wanted to do it before the surgery. I wanted to do it before I got as sick as I am. And I don't know what stopped me. I kind of, as I said to Scott, kind of feel I was meant to get to this point. I think that was meant to be it's time to do it.
Yeah.
Like, what's the worst thing can happen, You can't get any worse than where I'm at now. So I guess you're right. Positives did come out of it. And I'm here. That's the biggest positive.
Yes, it definitely is the biggest part.
And I've reached my 41st birthday.
Exactly.
And another Christmas.
And many more to come.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Well, look, it's been amazing talking to you. I could honestly just sit here and talk to you about it all day. And I know there's still stuff that we haven't touched on, and I hope that it's stuff that'll probably come up in our general chit chats anyway. We'll talk about stuff as and when they're relevant. So I just really want to thank you for sharing what you shared, because I know there were parts of it that were hard to talk about and probably things that you haven't thought about in a long time. So thank you for doing that and being brave enough to share that with everybody.
Appreciate that. It was like, there's definitely parts, as we said to you in the break we took, I'd forgotten about that. There's moments that the brain shuts down, I think, to protect you. I remember bad stuff, but when you put more bad stuff in, it becomes too much. So, but it was also it's good to air it sometimes, it's good to get it out. So I do appreciate, obviously, you listening. You always do anyway, but helping and supporting me in sharing it. I couldn't have done that on my own. I tried to before, and it just turned into a ball of mess, but you've helped me just do it so people can understand, and in an educative way. I felt like that was a big word then. So no, I really appreciate your support and helping me in doing this today.
No, it's been an absolute pleasure, and I hope that everybody who's listened and watched this has enjoyed it just as much. It's been really informative, really educational, and yeah, I'm sure you'll be glad whenever whenever it's finished here for you. You can take a breath and it'll probably all come flooding back again, but yeah.
Well, I would like to take over for a minute, take the reins back for a second.
Free. I am more than happy to
and give everybody the spoonful of knowledge. At the end of each podcast, we're going to give you a spoonful of knowledge, hopefully based on the podcast that we have done in that moment. And as it's the podcast where I'm sharing my story, I'd like to share the motto that I share at the end of every single live that I do, because I think it's so important. And it's smile once a day, laugh once a day, and make a memory a day, because you just don't know what tomorrow's going to bring, and nobody knows what tomorrow's going to bring. Tomorrow is not given. And even if that smile is the slightest curl on the edge of your mouth, and your laugh is just a and that your memory is, I managed to brush my teeth today. Build them up, because on a really, really bad day that's worse than that day, you'll remember on that day, I actually managed to brush my teeth that day. I'm going to push myself today, and I'm going to get that done today as well. That little memories build up into big balls of energy. And I do believe they're really, really important. And it's something I definitely live by. And I've definitely gotten Haley into writing positives every day of the day that you've had. And definitely try and do that too. Think about your day, even on a really bad day, and find a positive. Even if you have to dig real deep, find a positive and write it down, and do that every day. And then when you're really struggling, look back. Like after you've done it for a year, you can literally look back a year ago today. What did I do in that day? It all helps.
Exactly. And that's such an important point. And from you saying that, the big thing that always sticks out to me is you've survived your worst day. You've always survived your worst day, and there's always something, even if it's minuscule, there's always something you can pull out of that day that was a positive in some way. It might not be an obvious positive. It could be that you had a cup of coffee and it was really nice.
Yeah.
It could be, as you say, you brushed your teeth or you had a shower. Things like that are just draw on those moments, because if you can survive your worst day, you've got everything. You can do it.
Exactly. You've got all the tools to get through the next. Absolutely.
Exactly. I think that was a really important one. So the only other thing to ask you is to mention the charity of your choosing that you'd like to get any viewers to support if they so wish to do so.
Yep. So my chosen charity is Sarcoma UK. Obviously it's a cancer charity, but they also cover desmoid tumours, because although desmoid tumours aren't classed as cancer fully in the UK, they are still a sarcoma and still treated with cancer treatment, and Sarcoma UK are there for us just as much as they are for cancer patients, and yeah, got a lot of respect for them. So yeah, Sarcoma UK is my charity of choice. And whilst I'm plugging, please give me a follow over on TikTok at Life of a TPNer, and over on Facebook, Totally Me Living Life, all one word. Totally Me Living Life, all one word. They will be, if you're on YouTube, watching on YouTube, they'll be below, and they'll be on the website too. And I also have Instagram, which is totally_me_living_life. But again, they'll all be on the website and underneath on YouTube.
Perfect. I think that covers everything. So once again, Ria, thank you so much for talking us through everything today and educating everybody. And yeah, we've got many more recordings to do, so
looking forward to it.
I think
on that note, take care everybody, and we'll see you next time.
See you soon.
Bye.